If your motherboard or CPU is overheating, one of the first things you want to do is clean out your case, make sure all the fans are working properly. But if you've done all that, you're still having overheating problems, then the next step would be to upgrade your cooler. One of the signs that your motherboard or CPU are overheating is you might get blue screens, and they could be random, and you might not get a dump file. An easy way to see if your CPU is overheating or your motherboard is to install this program called Speccy. It's by the same manufacturer that created CC Cleaner, that's been around for a long time. So this is not a spyware program like some programs out there on the internet. There's a bunch of different programs, but this one's really good because it shows the CPU, the motherboard, and you can see right here real quick, you can see the temperature of your CPU. If you click on CPU over on the left, you'll see each core and the temperature. So you can see at idle, we're running at 107 and the motherboard's at 108. If you're doing anything that's CPU expensive, like gaming or video encoding, the heat will start building up and it'll just get hotter and hotter. If you look at this and you're getting over 170, then you know you got some kind of heating problem. For a test, we'll encode a video, let the CPUs heat up. We'll see how hot it gets here. Then we'll take out the stock CPU cooler and we'll put in this new cooler and then we'll see what it's capable of doing. And this is a beauty. Look at that. It has a huge fan on it. It has copper tubing, which is the best to wick away that heat from the CPU. I think this model also has lights or LEDs in the fans. So we'll see how those look. Okay, we're going to start our first test. We have a video that we're going to encode which hammers the CPU. Here's all the cores. It should start hammering all 6 of these cores, and then we'll look over here and just give it a few minutes and we'll see how hot this gets. So let's click start and let's see if our CPUs go up. There they go. All 6 of them are at 100%. And then we'll start watching our heat over here. We're already at 145. And our motherboard, you can see down here, it's 150. So your motherboard's going to kind of heat up with your CPU, because your CPU, once it starts heating up at the base, it'll start heating up the motherboard too. So we're at 148, not bad. Like I said, once you start getting over 170, then you're going to probably start having problems. Blue screens, lockups. See the cores are at 100%. We're at 156. We're going to pause this and let this run maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll come back and take a look. This has been running for about 10 minutes. You can see on the motherboard it's hitting 168, getting close to 170, and we're 165 on the CPU. Now, if you were gaming, your GPU may be going up, which would produce more heat, so you're just going to have a lot more heat in there. That's not bad, but it's at the limits. We're going to see if this new CPU cooler is going to help it out and see if it'll bring that temperature down. It'd be nice to see it in the 140 range. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on and take a look. Here's everything it comes with. It has some instructions. Then it has these plates that you have to put on the back of the board. So we're going to look at that, see how hard that's going to be to put on. But first, let's take off the old CPU, and then we'll get started putting the new one. But first, we'll take off the old CPU cooler. Here's the stock CPU cooler. We're going to take this off. On this one, you just turn these tabs to the left. Pretty easy. From there, you'll have to wiggle the heat sink to get it to come undone. Just wiggle it a little bit. And you may have to pull up on these a little. There's the old heat sink. Let's do a comparison with the new one. You want to clean the old paste off this. It came with some new paste in a tube, but you want to take like a paper towel and just get all that old paste off there. Some people use alcohol, but I think you'd be fine with a paper towel. I mean, you can see it's coming off. Just keep getting clean paper towels and keep rubbing it till you don't see any more, and you should be fine. Okay, yeah, that's just with the paper towel. It's perfectly clean. Here's a size comparison between the stock cooler and then here's the new one. And this thing is massive. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, no comparison. Incredible. So it'd be really curious to see how good this works. You remember we're hitting 165, 170 on this one with the motherboard and CPU. And this one looks like it's going to grab all that heat with this copper coils, pull it over to here, and then dissipate it. All right, let's go ahead and get this one put in, and then we can do our test. For the Intel board, the instructions say take this plastic piece and then take the screws and put them into the holes right here. And if you see them, you could press it down and it'll kind of stay in there. And put it in the hole that's closest towards the center. And so we'll do that with all 4 of them. Okay, there we go. We have them in all 4 holes. They're clamped in. Now what we have to do next is from the back side of the motherboard, see these holes right here? These screws will have to come up through those holes. So this will go on the back side of the motherboard. It like gives it support. And then we'll be attaching the new CPU cooler on top of this. So the CPU cooler will attach to these screws. So hopefully you don't have to pull your motherboard. Hopefully you can get to it from behind, but if not, you may have to pull your motherboard to get these on. Luckily on this computer, we could take the side cover off and then we can have access to put this on. There's the supporting bracket. Now we're going to turn this around and then we're going to put the screws on the front. With the screws sticking through, you'll take this little plastic washer and put it over there. And then you'll take this nut and screw it on. Once you screw it on, you don't have to do it super tight. Just get it really snug. I think you'd be fine with just hand snugging them. What you can do is take a pair of needle nose and just snug it down just a little bit. You don't want to over tighten it and crack your motherboard. Now that we have our post in and snug down, we're ready to put on our thermal paste and then put on our new cooler. The CPU cooler came with Deep Cool thermal compound. And what we're going to do is put a pea size right in the middle. That's what Intel recommends, or rice size right in the middle. And once we press down the CPU cooler, it should spread out that pea size evenly. There's not a lot in there, just enough. Our next step is to remove the protective covering. This comes with 2 separate sizes. You'll have to see which size fits your motherboard. If you have the AMD, you might be using this one. The Intel might be the smaller one. And just make sure it fits on there. And if it does, you'll use both of these. You're going to take the bracket and you're going to place it on the bottom, just like that. Put the screw through there. Once you have both sides done, we'll be ready to put it on. You can see how the screw has to go from the top. So on the other side, you won't be able to get to the screw. So what you're going to have to do is pull these little clips off and then pull the fan off and then put it on. To get the clip off, take your fingers and just pull straight up and it'll pop off, and do the same thing to the other side. And just kind of take note of how it went back on there. Alright, it's got both feet on it. Now you'll probably, alright, it's got both feet on it. You'll want to leave the fan off because you'll have to put the screws on down here. But we're going to leave the fan on just for a second so we can take a look at something. Depending on how your fans are set up on your case, most of the time there'll be a fan right here. This fan pulls air and shoots it out the back. So all the heat, they'll usually have another fan up front, and they'll be pushing air into the unit or into the case. And then this fan will be pulling the air out. So if you hold your hand on here and you can feel, if there's a fan right here, if you can feel it pressing out, then you want to put this, your CPU cooler, where the fan is pushing the air through here. It's pushing it, so all the heat's in here. It's grabbing the heated air. And then what it's going to do at that point, this fan is already sucking air out, so the heat will come straight through here and right out the back. So we're going to take the fan off. Okay, we have the fan off and we're ready to mount this. Just make sure the bottom looks clean, there's no dirt. What we're gonna do is we're gonna set this on there and we're just gonna let the weight of it spread out that thermal paste, and then we'll get our screws ready. There we go. We're just gonna set it on there and let the weight push that thermal paste down, and then we'll get our screws ready to go on. Here's the screws that you have to put on there. And what you do is just tighten all the way down till they're tight, and the spring actually is putting weight on here. So what you should do is put all 4 screws on loosely, and then in a pattern tighten them down, like tighten this one down, then go diagonal, tighten that one down, then go over here, tighten that one down, back diagonal, and just go back and forth in a cross pattern until you get them all snugly tightened. And that'll help spread the thermal paste evenly. Okay, as you can see, trying to get these screws on can be a little challenging. It's hard to get down inside there. What you may want to do is, if you have a long screwdriver with a magnetic bit, would be the easiest. Or if you have a socket, what you can do is take a piece of paper towel, just stick over the top of it, and then take your screw and stick it in there and see how it stays in there. And now what we can do we can easily turn it on. So we're going to go and do all 4 of these. Okay, all 4 screws have been snugged down, and we're ready to put the fan on and start testing. Now, so the airflow is important. So when you're putting this on, see this arrow right here? That's where the air is going to be sucking in from this side and blowing out this side, which is perfect for us because we're going to put it right here, and then the air will come in here. It'll blow through here, grab the heat, and then it'll blow out the back, because this fan right here blows out. So it'll be a perfect combination. A lot of people have a fan on the front so that it'll be pushing air in, and then it'll be pushing air straight out the back. All right, we're going to do a smoke test. We're going to turn on the computer. We're going to put some smoke, and hopefully what we see is the smoke going to here, and right out the back. When they had the cover on, it's going to actually work better, but this will give us a rough idea. See, that's exactly what we want to see. See how the smoke's going in? It's going through here, and it's going right out the back. Perfect. All right, let's fire this up and do our test. All right, we got the computer back up and running. Now let's take a look at the Speccy. CPU's running at 93, motherboard at 97. I think it was running at about 105 at idle before. Looks like it's lower there. We have the CPU's not doing anything. Let's go ahead and start the encoder. Our CPUs should go to 100%, which they are. And we'll give it about 10 or 15 minutes and see how hot this thing will get. On our test before, we're hovering around 165, almost 170 for the motherboard. So we'll give it 10 minutes and come back. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. Let's take a look and see what we got here. CPU core temperature 129, mind blow. Motherboard 133. That is incredible. So it's about a 40-degree drop almost. That I thought maybe it'd get to 150. I can't believe it's 130. Thumbs up. Very satisfied. This is an excellent value. This is about 25 bucks shipped to your door. I don't think you can beat this deal. If you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear about them. Pretty quiet.